Yeah, buddy. It is official, my people. Hope you guys having a wonderful, wonderful evening, man. On this roster cut down Tuesday, the Broncos have their initial final 53. Keyword in here being initial, because I'll tell you guys something, man. There's going to be some changes. There's going to be, I think, a couple of changes. Obviously, throughout the course of the season, there's going to be a whole lot, but we will see, man. We'll see what ends up happening. But like and subscribe, guys, if you love Denver Broncos sports, if you love talking about Broncos football in general. Let's get it cracking. So before we get into all of this, we're going to talk about some of the surprising moves. We're going to talk about the moves I like, some things I would consider to be bad moves or that I'm worried about, and then we'll get into a little bit of what's next. All right, so let's just dive right into this. So let's look at the initial roster here. All right, this is the initial 53, man. It is all official. Here's what we got. We got two quarterbacks like we had originally thought with Nix and Stidham. The full running backs, no surprise. Only thing to really talk about here on the wide receiver group market is they're going with 5. So there was no Courtney Jackson. There was no A.T. Perry. There was no Joaquin Davis. All right. Good news is that they feel very optimistic that they're going to be able to get at least Joaquin Davis and A.T. Perry onto the practice squad. I think they'll have a really good chance of that. So that's really good. Those are two good guys to have on the practice squad. A.T. Perry in case of immediate emergency, Joaquin Davis for the potential for the future, because that guy's got a whole lot of talent. So I do like that. I'm curious what you guys think about the 4 running backs in Dobbins and Harvey, Bidet, and McLaughlin. I think it's the right 4. I think it's probably the best 4. I would like to see Blake Watson. He lands on short-term IR and some sort of injury designation. So we'll see what happens there. But I think the overall 4 is not, it's solid, man. And I'm excited to see what ends up happening with practice squad, because I do think we're going to bring in a running back or 2 for practice squad, but I don't think it's going to be Audric Estime. It might not be anybody that we've really had here before. Damien Martinez, former Miami Hurricane, is available. Does he want to come here on the practice squad? He might see a little bit of an easier path to potentially getting playing time. So it'll be interesting to see him on there. But these initial 4, man, I think these are the right guys. Is there concern? I'm very concerned about the running game in general still. I have a lot more optimism than last year, but I got to see it. Then getting into the tight ends, man, Lucas Kroll, kudos to him. He flipped his offseason round. He had a terrible beginning part of the offseason. It looked like there was no chance that he was going to make this team, especially with the Broncos investing a 7th round pick into Caleb Lohner. Kind of is what it is. So was a little bit of frustration there. Let me move myself. So, but he really turned it up. I thought he played very well against the Saints, and I really do believe that performance, those last week or so, allowed for him to be able to make it. So look for him, man. If the Broncos are going to make any claims, it's obviously very tough to be able to predict that. But if they make any kind of claims, let's say they bring in a tight end with a better track record or somebody that they feel like fits more, look for him to be the kind of the odd man out, but doesn't necessarily have to be. But right now, that is the tight end room. Nate Atkins looks like he was not put on short-term IR. He's probably going to miss the first couple weeks at most of the season. So will be very, very interesting. So, it begs the question on the first couple weeks of the season, are the Broncos going to have a tight end on their practice squad that they're going to elevate and activate for, or are they going to go into the games with just 3 tight ends? I think 3 would probably be enough, but it's going to be pretty interesting. They'll probably go 3 tight ends and then activate an extra lineman for the, heavy 2 tight end personnel type of sets that they wanted to go with. But that's kind of what we got there with the tight ends. I'm happy and I'm proud to say that I predicted all of the offensive linemen that would make this. So that was one of the positional groups that I was like, I'm probably not going to get these ones right. But I did. So that was cool. So Bowles, McGlinchey, Pelcheski, Pert, and Crum are your tackles. Miners, Powers, Wattenberg, Forsyth are going to be your interior guys. Obviously, Miners, Powers, and Wattenberg being the starters, and Forsyth being kind of the flex interior guy. Pelcheski got a little bit of flex, and these are going to be the Pert's going to be your swing tackle. Crum's going to be the developmental. Interesting note today, Sean Payton talked about after the post game was they talked about Frank Crum. They asked him, did he make it because it's just athleticism? And again, he said absolutely. And he said they had 3 teams that reached out to them about Frank Crum wanting to trade for him. And I can understand it, guys. Like if you are running some sort of a wide zone scheme or you prefer to have very, very talented offensive linemen, they are very sought after. And that is one thing that Frank Crum is he's extremely talented. And I will say this, I saw a big jump from him this preseason compared to last year. Is he where he needs to be? No. But he reminds me a lot of what Luke Wattenberg did in terms of his ascension. He's gotten a lot better. He's got all these tools. So it was nice to see him take that leap. In order to really make this move make sense and just really make it pay off, you got to hope Frank Crum's going to be your starter in the next year or so. He's got to become that level of player because he's been taking, it's 2 years in a row now he's taken a roster spot up. But this year I feel like he's taken a roster spot from potentially very good players. So you need for that to pay off in the future. So it'll be interesting to see what Frank Crum is. But overall, no surprises here. Again, this is probably another positional group where I can see the Broncos adding a player, especially on the interior offensive line. And someone offhand, I might do a separate video on this, but that's very intriguing, is Cole Strange. And I'll probably make it tonight because waiver claims are due, they'll be all announced tomorrow. But Cole Strange, the former, he might have even been a first-round pick, or I think he was a third-round pick. I remember he was very overdrafted in the eyes of a lot by Bill Belichick and the Patriots. But nonetheless, yeah, he was a first-round, 29th pick. Nonetheless, has he had the best career? He's definitely had his struggles. But he's played in 30 games. He started 29. He's got a lot of experience. And he has put some very good film out there. And last year, he was coming off of a torn patellar tendon in his left knee. Didn't really have a full season. So we'll see where he's at. It could be just physically he's not quite there yet, or he's doing good. But that's a really intriguing player. But I'd like to add to this room. I am definitely concerned, no doubt about it. My big concerns are going to be with the depth of the offensive line. I already have concerns about a starter, a.k.a. Ben Powers, and a little bit of concern of a Luke Wattenberg. But if those guys go down, it's not like you're going to be like, oh, I'm really intrigued to watch, Nick Gargiulo like that, like I was. Now it's, oh shit, I expect Calvin Throckmorton to clear waivers. I expect for him to be put on the practice squad, and he will absolutely, in my opinion, be the fill-in, offensive lineman. Like if Powers were to go down or Miners were to go down, it would be Throckmorton that would step up. That's probably how they're going to be working it now, but we're going to have to see. So not like Calvin Throckmorton is somebody you should be unbelievably excited about, but at least you feel like you're getting somebody that's a pretty decent starter. So love to know what you guys think, man. What do you think about the receiver room? Should we have kept 6? There's a big debate about that of like, we should have kept Courtney Jackson. I felt like we should have kept A.T. Perry. We should have kept Joaquin Davis, so-and-so. I think it's always interesting because we go into these predictions thinking, oh, I think this player has a really small chance of clearing waivers, or I think that player, and that's usually where we're all wrong. I know I'm usually wrong there. I thought A.T. Perry had a really good chance of being claimed. It seems like players that get claimed are usually like very young, raw guys that they feel like they can mold into their own, But who knows? A.T. Perry might end up getting claimed somewhere else. But those guys make it through. And I wasn't really upset about Courtney Jackson. I didn't really feel like he did anything. Joaquin Davis at least was more intriguing to me. But we'll see. I expect that there to be, 2 or 3 guys minimum on the practice squad, Michael Bandy being one of them, Joaquin Davis and A.T. Perry. At the least, I think those 3 will be on the practice squad. Should they all clear? The hell just fell. My bad. And so another newsworthy, Drew Sanders was placed on IR. He was placed on IR designated to return. So maybe we'll see him later on in the year. Don't really care to either way. Johnny Walker, Matt Henningsen are done for the year. And Michael Burton had hamstring surgery. It was a grade 3 hamstring strain, meaning that he tore it off the bone. That's going to end your season. It's going to be a hard road back for him, man. So good luck to him. But interesting to see with the fullback. Sean Payton said, we'll see what happens with the fullback in the coming days. I don't think it means a fullback is going to be signed to the 53 because all you really need to do is get by the first couple weeks before you get Nate Atkins back. But something to keep an eye on. I think Adam Prentice will get back to the practice squad, and I think Adam Prentice will probably be activated and playing week 1 in Tennessee. So crazy stuff how that all works out. What I liked about the moves today, right? So what I didn't like was, I don't like the depth at guard. We couldn't really do much about it. We'll see if that gets addressed. Wasn't the biggest fan of keeping 5 wide receivers, but when the optimism about A.T. Perry and Joaquin Davis making the practice squad makes me feel fine about it. What I loved, man, is I loved that they actually did keep 7 defensive linemen. I had predicted that, which was cool, but I was still a little bit pessimistic that they would, because that's a lot. But kudos to them, man. Understanding this is a strength. Uwazurike is a good player. Jordan Jackson is a good player. You don't want to have to make decisions. Just keep them both if you can. The more depth you have on the lines, the better, right? So 7 defensive linemen. Yes, it's a lot. You might get a couple guys that don't end up dressing on game day, but I ain't tripping. I am not tripping at all. Shai Vargas, what's up, my man? How do you feel about the Broncos 53? Well, that's what we're going through right now. I feel, overall, I feel very good about this team and where they're at. Obviously, compared to a year ago, obviously compared to 2 years ago, we're trending in the right direction. I love the depth. And once the practice squad gets put together and finalized next week, it's going to be tomorrow. Interesting to see. That's going to give a lot of foresight too. And then, maybe we end up claiming some guys. But I feel very good about it overall. As I said, I would like to see us do something with the interior offensive line. And there's one more positional group we'll get to as well. So I appreciate you tuning in, man. And Kodiak, it's like you read my mind. So we talked about tight end. I think that claiming a tight end is a big possibility. I think claiming an interior offensive lineman is a big possibility. I don't think they'll make a lot of claims. So I'm saying, like, between these 3 positional groups, I think maybe 1 or 2 maximum. And then inside linebacker, like you had said. So the edge room, no surprise, it's an elite edge room. Bonito, Cooper, Ellis, Tillman, Robinson. Love to see Andrew Farmer make the practice squad. That'd be cool if you can do that. It's an amazing edge room. Here's where the big shock of the day was, man. It was. I wouldn't say it was shocking, but it was a big surprise, nonetheless. A very big surprise. And that is them moving on from Lavelle Bailey. Karene Reed basically Lavelle Bailey, right? Lavelle Bailey did this to a lot of veteran guys last year. They didn't want it. They felt like they weren't going to be able to keep him had they cut him. So they kept him on the 53 before ultimately he resorted to the practice squad, and then I think he got moved up later. They kind of played the gymnastics with him because they felt like a lot of teams were going to be coveting him. Now, Karene Reed did the same thing. So if Lavelle Bailey can clear, which, again, you never know. You never know with these positions what's going to happen. Linebacker is one of those positions that historically are least likely to be claimed off of waivers once teams cut them. So if Lavelle Bailey gets back on the practice squad, he's even though Reed is on the 53, Lavelle Bailey is your backup inside linebacker, in my opinion, right away. So he'll be the guy that, like, if there's an injury, they'll elevate him as many times as they can for as long as they need him, and they'll put him back. But kudos to Karene Reed, man. I love the undrafted free agent streak continuing. I thought he looked really good. I thought he did pop. He looks like he moves very well. Like, he's a fast dude. He's an athletic guy. Played well. I would have liked to see Jordan Turner as well. I kind of like Jordan Turner, honestly, more than Karene Reed. But they felt like, and Sean Payton said it. He said it. He said, we didn't feel like Karene Reed was someone that we could have snuck through the roster. I'll try to see if I can get the exact, quote here. But an interesting guy that just got released from another team was Harrison Bryant. So that'll be an interesting tight end to look for as well. Let me see with Crum. Yeah, so Sean Payton, per Mike Kliss, Sean Payton indicated strong interest around the league post-draft in undrafted rookie inside linebacker Karene Reed, and that was a factor why he made it. So they got a little bit more of a feel for these things. So I don't hate it, but that definitely took me by surprise. I felt like if someone told me Reed was going to make the roster, then I would have said they were going to keep 5 linebackers, not just 4. So again, Kodiak, I wonder this too, man. I think it's going to be interesting to see what's going to pop off there. So I love it. We'll see what ends up happening. All right, cool. And then Here's what I don't like. And, guys, I think we're at the point as Bronco fans where we just have to trust that not just trust. We have to just come to terms with the fact that Sean Payton and George Payton know a lot more about football than we all do. Because I don't know why the hell Devon Key makes the team again. Makes no sense to me. Never felt like he was a really good player. I don't think he's this outstanding special teamer, especially because they chose him over Sam Franklin Jr., who, yes, albeit he struggled, but they gave him a fully guaranteed contract, $1.3 million. And so it's going to be very, very interesting to see why. Do they make any moves in this room? I don't know. I do love the fact that they kept PJ Locke, though. I would have been really furious if they moved on from PJ Locke, just flat out moved on from him and kept Devin Key was the reason. So I at least justified it by saying, all right, it's Devin Key instead of Delarian Turner-Yell or Sam Franklin Jr., but it's also Devin Key over, guys like, maybe we talked about another receiver, right? One of those 6 receivers. Or, it could be, somebody in another positional group per se. I really liked what I saw from Jaden Robinson. I almost would have been more intrigued by keeping him on there as a 6th corner than having Devin Key as a 5th safety. But listen, guys, I mean, when Sean Payton likes you, he really, really likes you. So if I was going to make a guess, though, and this is just a hypothetical, I think if the Broncos were to claim a guy, the first person to go would probably be Lucas Kroll or Devin Key. I think it's going to be one of those 2 guys. Those are probably the final guys on this roster. Unless they go for an interior lineman, then maybe they can move on from Forsyth or something. But overall interesting. But again, I love the fact that we kept all the defensive linemen, the 7 of them. I think that's a really good thing. And find somebody that loves you the way that Sean Payton loves Devin Key. Very, very kind of bewildered by that. But otherwise, man, I think nothing else is really surprising. I think it's really good. I am excited for the waiver claim. I don't know really what Sean Payton's history or George Payton's history of, bringing in or making waiver claims is. I wanted to look back last year because I feel like I remember, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, they made a claim, but they didn't end up getting the claim. There was 4 other teams that made it, and obviously the team ranked the lowest got them. So we'll see. And I think, as David Talks Broncos, thanks for tuning in, my guy, says, I like your idea of Cole Strange. I think Cole Strange is going to be somebody that there's going to be a team out there that takes a flyer on him. I mean, listen, should he have been a 1st-round pick? Probably not. But at the end of the day, he was. He's still very young, man. He's only, 27 years old. And he's now a year removed from a serious knee injury with a torn patellar tendon. And he suffered that in week 15 of 2023. So he didn't even, he only played the final month of the season last year. Now, he was cut by New England, by the team, but obviously there could be a lot of reasons. It doesn't necessarily have to be health related. I think if he's not claimed and he's put onto a practice squad, it could be a health related thing. Or it could just be that they have a completely different scheme there and he just doesn't fit there anymore. But I did a little bit of PFF digging, but like I said, I'm going to make a separate video here tonight about some potential intriguing undrafted free agents. There's just a shitload to look through. So we'll do that. But yeah, anyways, guys, appreciate you tuning in, man. Kodiak, David, Shai Vargas. We had about 30 people on the live stream today, which, for a last minute stream at 4 p.m., I'm pretty happy with. Make sure you subscribe to those guys' channel, man. Kodiak's always putting out great content. David Talks Broncos. Obviously, we know one of the best. He's got a Buffs channel, so make sure you check those guys out. But curious what you guys know. Let me know in the comments below about how you're feeling about the Broncos' initial 53. And until the next time, yo, peace.